episode of Inside the Ropes with Coach Mario. It's a pleasure for me to be talking to you guys about the sport that I love so much, the sport of boxing. And today I have a little rant going on about what is wrong with boxing. What is wrong with boxing? I'm pretty sure that a lot of fans have, a lot of hardcore fans and a lot of fans, old school fans like myself. We go way back. We miss the old days of boxing for many reasons, and I'm pretty sure that some of you have been also a little have a little bit of nostalgia for those golden days of boxing. Um, Nowadays, things have changed in the sport in other sports, in the sport of boxing as in other sports like football and basketball, etc. But my forte and what I think I know a little bit more about is boxing. So have a little rant for you guys today in this episode. By the way, thank you for liking my videos. I got really good feedback on the first episode, and I think I will continue this for a while now. It's something that I like to talk about. It's a sport that I love very much, and I've been following since I was a kid. And tell you a little story about myself. I've been following the sport since I was maybe 10 years old, I believe. I went to my first championship fight in Puerto Rico, live championship fight. It was, I'm going to date myself, it was Carlos Ortiz versus Sugar Ramos. Carlos Ortiz, who I consider the greatest Puerto Rican champion that ever lived. All right? I'm pretty sure that some of you guys, newer generation, do not know who Carlos Ortiz was, but this guy was one hell of a champion. He was, I'm telling you, this guy had all the tools to beat every single opponent that he had in front of him. And that night or that day, I believe it was Iran Bithorn Stadium in Puerto Rico, I attended that fight with my grandfather and my father. And it was a great experience. Those are my dogs going nuts. I think the mailman is about to come. But anyway, it was such a great experience, and I've never seen anything like that. By the way, Carlos Ortiz stopped Sugar Ramos. I don't remember what round it was, but he gave him a beating. And I was so impacted by what the sport of boxing was that I actually started following it more. My family has always been, and you guys know, some of you guys from the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, especially Cuba and other Caribbean countries, we love the sport of boxing. Our main sports are boxing and baseball. And I was impacted so much by that fight that basically I followed as a fan, and then later on in life I became a boxer. I boxed while I was in the Marines. I did a lot of crazy stuff when I was young, street fighting and all that other stuff, and I competed at some tournaments in Puerto Rico. And for the last maybe 10 years, I've been coaching boxing at my academy, boxing academy in Miami, Florida, Cold Warriors Pride Boxing Academy. And the sport has changed, okay? And my perception is that it has become a sport in which, legacy doesn't matter as much as it used to, or at least that's my perception, all right? Now what matters the most is basically money, all right? And the money has always been important for fighters, and I think that every champion or every fighter has become legendary comes from humble background, all right? I don't think there's even one champion, maybe one or two exceptions out there, of champions that have come from middle class or above. All of them have come from need. All of them have come from dire situations, and the hunger to strive to become successful in their career. and also pays off with money. It has the money aspect to it. For some fighters, for some others, they're not able to handle that kind of success. But now it's more about money. Now it's fighters do not fight as much as they did back in my days. And fighters used to fight. For example, Wilfred Benitez became a champion at 17 years old, the youngest champion of all time on any weight class. And that's a record that's never going to be actually broken. But this guy had like 15 fights in a year, 12, 15 fights, something like that. So those were the days where fighters were constantly fighting. They were fighting the best. They're not just cherry picking. They're fighting top opponents. And now you see fighters that fight once a year. They pick. Some of these cards are like so lopsided. They're not even. You know who's gonna win. You know who the person that is going to win. There's been some upsets, obviously, and we've seen some in this past year, in 2021. And but for most part, it is all already set in stone. The results are going to be already what everybody expects. So that's one of the things that's happening right now. We don't see boxing as much. We don't see these fighters fighting the best. We don't see these champions fighting who we want to see, because there's a whole bunch of organizations. There's a lot of actually networks that control each fighter, and one network does not let their fighters fight fighters from other networks, and that's always a conflict. So we're not able to see the fights that we want to see, all because of politics and all because of trying to dominate their organization and their fighters, and help them make more money. And if their fighters make more money, they make more money. All right, so that's one of the things. There's also 17 divisions nowadays. All right, 17 divisions. Back in the day, there were not too many divisions. There was 2 divisions. There's 17 divisions, and they had. And now there's 4 organizations. Sorry about that. Got a little confused there. 17 divisions and weight divisions, and 4 major organizations, boxing organizations. So the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO. Back in the golden era of boxing, my golden era of boxing, the 70s and 80s, there were only 2 divisions, all right, 2 or 3. Then it went, it started growing. And the champions back in the day, they had 2 champions. Now there's 4 champions for each division. So there's 17 champions, 17 divisions, and 68 titles. So just imagine that, all these champions. I remember when I was in the Marines, I used to receive the Ring magazine. My mom used to send me the Ring magazine from Puerto Rico that I used to love to read. And I could tell you every single champion in every division. I knew them. I knew all the champions. These guys were constantly fighting, and I was such a hardcore fan of some of these champions that it's unbelievable. I met some personally. But now, there's some champions that I never heard of. So-called champions, title holders. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that this sport has been watered down, all right? When the UFC was available or was first seen by everybody, it has been something that has been taking some of those fans that used to be boxing fans, and some new fans that boxing could have. UFC has been able to attract those fans, and the reason why is because there's only one champion for each division, for each weight class. There's only one organization. All right, so you know who the champion is. He might not be the champion for long, because MMA is different than boxing, and one champion can lose in his first championship fight to defend his title, and so on and so forth. So, but my point is that um, the UFC has been able to do what boxing is not doing. All right, which is basically attracting new fans. I tell you, I run a boxing club. I train fighters. I train kids that never boxed. And when I asked them about fighters and who their favorite fighter is. Some of them don't even know who the champions are. Some of them don't even have a favorite fighter, and they just want to learn how to defend themselves and stuff like that. Uh, this used to be America's sport. Boxing used to be the main sport for United States. Um, it is still that way in a way with some Latin American countries, but it's been eroding. And like I said, the UFC has been able to attract those all new fans, and that is something that has taken away from from the sport of boxing. Um, the other thing that I believe that has affected the sport is all the corruption that's been going on in the sport by these organizations. Uh, the uh, the performance enhancing drugs that some of these fighters take in order to have an advantage over their adversaries. We have seen recently in the past few years how some boxers have been caught using performance enhancing drugs, and all they've gotten is a slap on the wrist, and because they're cash cows, and because they're the ones that are actually bringing all the money for the organization. So there's a lot of corruption, and I'm not saying that in the past there hasn't been corruption like that in the sport of boxing, but I see it's blatant now. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's fight after fight, card after card. I see terrible decisions by the judges, and it makes me wonder. Either they're totally incompetent and these guys don't know what the hell they're. I mean, or maybe they have a different perception when you're sitting ringside and watching a fight than when you're looking at it from TV, or they're corrupt, or somebody has got them in their pocket, and that's my perception, and I believe there's a lot of that going on, and to be honest with you, I have felt several times, um, kind of like really disappointed by the sport, and thought about what, I'm not gonna watch the sport anymore. This is it. This is unfair. When I see a totally bogus scoring by judges, I mean crazy judging on cards, and that actually has impacted me in a way that sometimes I just say, what, I'm gonna start watching MMA, but I always come back. I always come back because it's a sport that I love, and there have been some amazing fights in the past years, some great wars, and for me, there's nothing like the sport of boxing. I just hope that in the future, the sport can improve, that there should be, and you guys can tell me what you think should be done about the sport. I mean, should there be, a boxing czar, somebody that oversees everything, maybe less organizations. That's not going to happen. Maybe reduce the divisions. Back in the day, it was it wasn't all the divisions, all of the weight classes that we have right now. It was it was not 140, 147, 154. It was totally different. It was lightweight, welterweight, middleweight. And that's the way it was, and I think maybe we should go back to something like that, a combination of reducing those divisions, uh, and also a boxing czar that can actually oversee everything that's going on, all the corruption. And some of these people should be held liable. Some of the people that are behind closed doors, pulling the strings on everything that we see, all these mismatches, all these terrible scoring, and the way that these boxers are able to avoid the top contenders in order to pick and choose who they're gonna fight. It shouldn't be like that. The organization say you're gonna fight this guy, you're gonna lose the title. It's not like that anymore. The ones that are running the show are the fighters. All right. There's a fighter. If it's a cash cow, he's the one that says, "Well, I'm gonna fight this guy who is B-level fighter. I'm gonna fight him for a title and just raise that guy and make him a mandatory. And this guy might be ranked number 50, and he's number one mandatory." So these are the blatant corruption and things that are going in with the sport, and why I've been disappointed about the sport. However, like I said, I still love it. I think it's the greatest sport out there, and to be honest with you, I just hope and pray that things improve in our sport. Please share with me any ideas that you think might help the sport of boxing, or you think the sport of boxing is doomed to die, and actually MMA or other mixed martial arts or the fighting sports will take its place. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me again. I really appreciate your comments. If you like what I'm talking about, if you want to make any comments, I really appreciate that. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and pass the word. Just share the words with those that actually like boxing also. And hope to see you guys here soon again. All right. God bless you all. This is Coach Mario from Inside the Ropes. Peace.